The dog wasn't barking. He was standing dead still in the middle of a field burned dry by summer. Every breath came rough, like sandpaper scraping the air. Flies circled above him, drawn by the smell of rusted metal and old feed. Behind the broken fence, two tiny kittens hid under an overturned bucket, their fur dusted in dirt. The dog, large golden ribs showing, stood guard just a few feet away, staring at something Harold couldn't see yet. Harold wiped the sweat off his forehead and squinted. He'd been out back fixing the water line that morning when he heard the sound, short, sharp, like a cough and a whine mixed together. He thought it was one of the coyotes again. But when it didn't stop, something inside him said, "Go look." Now, standing there with his cane and his heart beating too loud, he realized this wasn't a coyote. The dog shifted his stance, blocking the kittens completely. His front paw trembled, not from fear, but from effort. Every muscle looked ready to collapse, but still he stayed between Harold and those tiny shapes. "Hey there," Harold called softly. "You don't need to do that. I'm not here to hurt you." No reaction, only that heavy breathing. The ground shimmered with heat, the smell of dry grass thick and sour. Harold noticed a patch of blood darkening the dirt beneath the dog's side. He took a step forward, slow. The dog's tail twitched once, then lowered. It was a warning, but also a confession. "I can't do this much longer." That's when one of the kittens let out a cry. High, desperate, almost human. The dog turned, just enough to nudge it with his nose, checking if it was alive. The tenderness of the gesture hit Harold like a punch. He hadn't seen care like that since his wife used to feed strays behind their porch. After she passed, he'd stopped looking for anything alive out here. It hurt too much to love something that could disappear. But now this scene in the dirt, this dog and these two trembling kittens, felt like something out of a prayer he'd forgotten. "All right, boy," Harold murmured, lowering himself down. "Let's see what you're guarding." The air was still. Only the ticking sound of cooling metal from an old tractor nearby broke the silence. Then Harold saw it, further down the fence, half buried in sand. A shallow hole. Inside, bones. Small, fresh. Maybe another kitten. Maybe something worse. Harold's throat went dry. The dog looked back at him, eyes glassy but alert. And for a second, Harold felt like the animal was asking him something. Not for help, but for permission. Before he could move, a low rumble echoed in the distance. An approaching engine, a truck, old and coughing dust, heading down the dirt road toward the property. The dog's head lifted. His ears went rigid. Harold frowned. "You know that sound, don't you?" The animal's breathing quickened, the kind that comes with recognition and fear all at once. Harold followed the dog's gaze toward the road and saw the pickup slow, dust billowing around it. A man inside, window down, staring this way. Then the engine cut. Silence. The kittens mewed again, sensing the change in the air. Harold looked back at the dog, now trembling for real, trying to stay upright. Whatever was coming down that road, it wasn't just trouble. It was the reason this dog had stayed here. And for the first time, Harold realized something chilling. The dog wasn't protecting the kittens from the world. He was protecting them from someone. The old pickup crawled to a stop beside the fence, tires grinding against the dry dirt. The heat haze blurred its edges, making it look like it was melting into the horizon. Harold stayed still, one hand on his cane, the other hovering near the dog. He could hear the kittens shifting under the bucket, their tiny claws scraping metal. The dog didn't move, his body rigid, his chest rising fast, nostrils flaring at the scent of dust and oil. The driver's door creaked open, boots hit the ground, slow, deliberate. A man stepped out, a broad shape in a torn flannel shirt, sunburned arms, cigarette hanging from his mouth. His face was mostly hidden by the shadow of his hat, but his posture told enough. Someone who thought everything he saw belonged to him. "Hey, old-timer," the man called, voice rough. "That your mutt?" Harold shook his head, but didn't speak. The man took a few steps closer, the cigarette bobbing as he talked. "Been looking for him. Been gone 2 days. Damn thing dug under the fence and took off. Guess he's smarter than I thought." He looked past Harold, eyes narrowing. "Where's he hiding?" Harold didn't answer. He noticed something now, the way the dog had started to shake, not from weakness this time, but from fear, pure bone-deep fear. And when the stranger took another step, the dog growled, low and broken. The man's jaw tightened. "You got some nerve after what you did to my chickens." That line hit Harold like a shove. He turned his eyes toward the dog, old, battered, bleeding, and then back to the man. "You saying this dog killed your chickens?" "Damn right he did. Found feathers all over my yard. Things been trouble since the day he showed up." Harold's voice stayed calm. "Then why you keep him?" The man spat in the dirt. "Because he's mine. You don't just let what's yours walk off." He started walking again. Harold stepped between him and the dog. "Don't!" The man stopped. "Move. Not till you tell me what happened to his leg." A thin smile cut across the man's face. He got what he deserved. Maybe next time he'll stay put. Harold's stomach twisted. He could see the truth in the dog's wound now. Clean cut, not torn. Wire. Maybe a trap. Maybe punishment. The air felt thicker, the heat pressing down on both of them. Harold's cane trembled slightly in his grip, but he didn't move. "You can turn around and drive back," he said quietly. "He's not going anywhere." The man's smile faded. "You think you can keep him? You don't even know him." Harold met his eyes. "I know enough." For a long second, neither of them spoke. Only the sound of a faraway windmill turning, squeaking every few rotations. Then, without a word, the man flicked his cigarette into the dirt, ground it under his boot, and walked back to the truck. The engine coughed, spat smoke, and rolled away. When the dust settled, Harold finally turned back to the dog. The animal was still standing, swaying slightly, eyes locked on the road, as if expecting the truck to return. "It's over," Harold said softly. "He's gone." But the dog didn't relax. He stepped toward the kittens instead, lowering his head to check on them, pressing his nose against their small bodies until they mewed. Only then did his breathing slow. Harold crouched, ignoring the pain in his knees, and touched the wound gently. The dog didn't flinch this time, just looked at him, tired but trusting. "Max," Harold said, reading the faint letter on the collar again. "That your name?" A faint thump of the tail. Harold smiled despite the lump in his throat. "All right, Max, let's get you fixed up." He wrapped his faded work shirt around the dog's side, tying it tight. Then, one by one, he lifted the kittens and placed them in a small feed bucket. They were barely alive, bones under fur, but their eyes followed his hands like they understood he meant no harm. When he straightened up, sweat running down his back, the world around him felt different. The farm hadn't felt alive in years, just dust, silence, and the ghosts of things he'd lost. But now, with this fragile bundle of life in front of him, it almost breathed again. He started walking toward the house, slow but steady. The dog followed, limping beside him, refusing to let the bucket out of sight. Every few steps he'd look over his shoulder at the road, just in case. Inside, Harold cleared a spot near the old sink. The room was dim, filled with the smell of wood and old memories. He found a towel, soaked it, cleaned the wound. The dog didn't fight. The kittens curled together in a rag, shivering but alive. For the first time in years, Harold heard himself humming, a sound that surprised him. When he finished, he sat on the floor beside the dog. The animal leaned against his leg, breathing shallow but peaceful. "You did good, boy," Harold whispered. "Whatever happened before, it's done now." But even as he said it, he noticed something that made his chest tighten. The dog's collar, beneath the layer of dirt, had another engraving, not a name this time, a number. And beneath it, faint but readable. K9 unit. Harold stared. The pieces didn't fit. A trained police dog. Out here, guarding kittens? He reached for the tag, tracing the letters with his thumb. The dog's eyes flicked up, calm but unreadable, like he was holding a story Harold hadn't earned yet. Outside, far off down the road, the sound of another engine echoed. This one smaller, smoother, not the same truck. Harold froze. The dog lifted his head again, ears twitching, and then faintly from the distance, two short honks. A signal. The animal reacted instantly, pushing himself to his feet, growl rising deep in his chest again. Harold turned toward the window and saw a white SUV kicking dust coming fast. No farm logo, no county plates. Whoever they weren't neighbors. and Harold realized the first man hadn't just left. He'd called someone else. The white SUV rolled to a stop near the old windmill, throwing a thick cloud of dust over the field. Harold stood by the porch, the dog beside him, both watching in silence. Two figures stepped out, one in uniform, one in plain clothes. Both wore sunglasses that reflected nothing but the sun-burned sky. "Afternoon, sir," the taller one said, walking forward with careful steps. "We're looking for a missing dog. Possibly dangerous. Might have wandered this way." Harold kept his expression flat. "Dangerous, huh? He looks half dead to me." The officer nodded once, glancing at the limp shape by Harold's leg. "That him?" Harold didn't answer right away. The dog, Max, had gone still, ears tilted forward, breathing short. His body was tense, ready. Not from aggression, but recognition. He knew these people. The second figure, the one without a uniform, stepped closer. She crouched slightly, voice softer. "Max?" The dog's tail twitched once. Then he backed up, hiding behind Harold's leg. The woman's jaw tightened. "Oh boy," she murmured. Harold watched her carefully. "You know him?" "I trained him," she said quietly. 2 years with the K9 unit out of El Paso. He went missing after a raid 3 months ago. We thought he was gone for good." Her voice cracked on the last word. Harold frowned. "And now you're here to take him back?" "That's the idea," the officer said. "He's government property." Harold repeated, looking down at the trembling animal. "Doesn't look like property to me." The woman hesitated. "Sir, he's not well. He needs care. We can help him." "He's already got care." Harold gestured toward the house. "Wounds cleaned. He's resting." The officer's patience thinned. "Look, old man, this isn't a discussion. The dog's part of an ongoing investigation. We have orders to retrieve him." Harold's eyes hardened. "Investigation into what?" The woman sighed. "A drug bust gone wrong. The suspect's house was rigged to blow. Max was inside when it happened. By the time we cleared the place, he'd dragged 2 kittens out of the rubble. Guess he couldn't save the rest." Harold blinked. "Kittens?" "Yeah," she said, voice low. "We thought it was instinct, maybe confusion. But he wouldn't leave them even when the fire caught. Then in the chaos, someone took him. Some guy from the property line next to yours. We tracked his plates to a nearby farm. Probably the same one who hurt him." Harold's stomach turned cold. "He came here this morning." The officer straightened. "Then he knows we're close." Max suddenly let out a low bark, one sharp sound that cut the heat. He moved toward the dirt road, nostrils flaring. His wound bled again from the strain, but he didn't care. The woman looked the same way and froze. A trail of dust rose in the distance, another truck, the same old pickup as before, speeding toward them. "Get inside," she ordered. Harold didn't argue. He grabbed the kitten's bucket and backed into the house, the officers following. Max stood at the doorway, growling deep, tail stiff. The first bullet cracked the silence. Glass shattered across the sink. The officers ducked. Harold dropped to the floor, shielding the kittens with his arms. Outside, the pickup skidded to a stop. Doors slammed. Shouts echoed. "Federal agents!" the officer yelled back. "Stand down!" Another shot. Closer. The woman peeked through the window. "He's not alone. 2 of them." Max barked again, louder this time, chest heaving. His eyes were locked on the sound, wild but focused. "Stay down," Harold shouted, grabbing his cane. But the dog didn't. He lunged forward, bursting through the open doorway before anyone could stop him. "Max!" the officers yelled, running after him. Harold stayed on the floor, clutching the kittens, his heart pounding like a hammer. Through the heat haze outside, he could see movement. Figures near the truck, a blur of dust and noise. Then, silence. The gunfire stopped. The woman appeared first, walking back toward the porch, one hand pressed against her shoulder. She wasn't shot, just shaken. Behind her, Max limped slowly, muzzle red but eyes steady. The 2 men by the truck were on the ground, weapons kicked aside. Harold's throat tightened as the dog approached. His breathing was ragged, each step costing him something he didn't have left to give. The woman knelt beside him, tears cutting through the dust on her cheeks. "You stubborn hero," she whispered. Harold looked from her to the animal. "He's not going to make it if he keeps bleeding like that." "I know," She turned to the officer. "Call it in. Get a med team." But Max was no longer looking at her. His eyes were fixed on the bucket near Harold's feet. The kittens had crawled out, mewing weakly. He limped toward them, sat down and lowered his head until his nose touched theirs. One of them licked his muzzle. Something in that moment, quiet, unguarded, made Harold's eyes sting. The woman saw it too. "He carried them out of fire once," she said softly. "Guess he's still doing it." Harold knelt beside them, resting a trembling hand on the dog's neck. "You did good, Max. You did more than anyone asked you to." The heat outside shimmered again, bending the light around them. The distant wail of sirens began to grow. The officer shouted updates into the radio. The woman stayed beside Max, pressing her hand gently to his chest, feeling every breath. And then the dog did something small but unforgettable. He leaned his head into Harold's leg like a thank you. "Stay with us, buddy," Harold whispered. "Don't you go just yet." Max blinked slowly, eyes calm. Then he turned his gaze toward the road, where the sound of sirens grew louder, clearer. It wasn't fear this time. It was recognition. Because somewhere beyond that dust, someone else was coming, someone who hadn't been part of the raid, or the police, or the cruelty that came after. Someone Max had been waiting for since the night everything burned. The woman looked at him, confusion crossing her face. "He's responding to something, you hear that?" Harold frowned. "Hear what?" She tilted her head, listening hard. A faint whistle, high, distant, steady. Her eyes widened. "That's his handler's call sign." Harold looked back down at Max. The dog's tail moved once, and then as the sirens closed in, the whistle sounded again, closer this time. Max lifted his head. His ears twitched. And in that dry, sunlit silence, something inside him recognized home. The sirens faded into the heat as the white ambulance stopped at the edge of the field. Dust rose around it like smoke. 2 medics jumped out, carrying gear. Behind them, a woman stepped down, gray uniform, hat in her hand. The sound that followed wasn't a voice. It was a whistle, sharp, steady, unmistakable. Max's ears shot up. He tried to stand, but his front paw slipped. Harold reached to steady him. "Easy," he murmured. "They're here." The woman in uniform came closer, crouched, and spoke softly. "Max." Her voice cracked on the second syllable. The dog froze, then limped forward. Just a few steps, but enough. His tail moved once, then again. The look in his eyes changed completely. For the first time since Harold had found him, the fear was gone. The handler dropped to her knees and wrapped her arms around him. "God, I thought I lost you." Harold turned away, blinking hard. The officers stepped back to give space. The medics waited quietly, understanding that what was happening wasn't just a reunion. It was a goodbye waiting to happen. Max leaned against his handler, breathing shallow, his side still bleeding through the bandage. His head rested on her shoulder, as if the weight of everything finally left him. "He saved them," Harold said, voice low. "The kittens. He stayed with them all night." The woman looked at him, eyes wet. "That's Max, always protecting something smaller than him." She stroked his fur, whispering things only he could hear. Small words, memories maybe. The wind carried none of it, just the rhythm of a voice trying to hold back time. When she finally looked up, her face was set with that kind of sadness that knows there's no fixing what's already breaking. "Will he make it?" Harold asked. The medic shook his head slowly. "He's lost too much blood. We can ease the pain, but he's tired." Harold swallowed. The woman nodded once, then turned back to Max. She held him tighter. "Boy, you did enough." Max's eyes moved to Harold then, to the kittens curled together in a towel. A faint sound left his throat, not quite a bark, not quite a whine, just acknowledgement. Harold knelt beside him, laying a hand on the dog's head. The fur was rough, still warm from the sun. "They'll be safe," he said. "I'll make sure of it." The dog's breathing slowed, shallow but peaceful. The medic stepped closer with quiet hands, but the handler waved them back. "Just a minute," she whispered. She pressed her forehead against his. "Good boy, Max. Good boy." It happened gently. One breath, then another, then none. The wind passed through the field, stirring the dry grass. For a long moment, nobody moved. The handler stayed where she was, eyes closed, arms still around him. Harold sat beside her, hat in his hands. The kittens mewed softly, as if calling out for him. Later, when the medics lifted Max onto the stretcher, the handler placed her badge on his chest. "He earned this more than I ever did," she said quietly. Harold didn't say anything. He just watched, the world blurring through heat and memory. When the vehicles finally left, only he and the kittens remained. The dust settled again, and the field went silent, just like before. He carried the bucket back into the house. The kittens were restless, crying for milk. He found a small bottle from years ago. His wife used to feed orphans like these, and filled it with warm water and a little cream. As they drank, Harold looked out the window. The same road, the same horizon, but something had changed. It wasn't empty anymore. That night he buried Max beneath the windmill, where the air never stopped moving. The ground was dry and hard, but Harold didn't mind. He'd done this before, for people, for animals, for things he'd loved and lost. When the hole was done, he placed Max's collar on the mound. The tag caught the moonlight just enough to shine. Beside it, he set the feed bucket, the kittens now asleep on a folded rag. He sat there for a long time, listening to the quiet. Somewhere far off, a coyote howled. The kittens stirred, pressing against each other for warmth. Harold looked up at the sky, then down at the collar. "You did good, boy," he said. "Better than most men I've known." The words hung in the air, swallowed by the night. As he stood to leave, one of the kittens crawled out of the bucket, tiny paws clumsy on the dirt. It climbed onto his boot and looked up, eyes reflecting the stars. Harold smiled, crouched, and scooped it gently into his palm. "All right," he whispered. "Looks like we're not done, are we?" He carried both kittens inside, closing the door softly behind him. The house felt different now, not as empty. The chair by the window creaked under his weight. The air smelled of dust, milk, and something else he hadn't felt in years: purpose. He watched the kittens curl together in the towel, their breathing slow and safe. Outside, the windmill turned. The night hummed softly with crickets and the sound of life returning. Harold leaned back, eyes heavy but peaceful. "That night," he murmured, half to himself, "I didn't just help a dog." He looked toward the window where moonlight hit the field, right where Max was buried, the collar glinting faintly in the dark. "I saved the last piece of my heart that still believed in kindness."